When most 10-year-olds were navigating elementary school and learning long division, Iain Armitage was learning his lines. By the time he landed the titular role in young Sheldon, he'd already been hailed as a rising star, praised for his precocious charm and remarkable emotional range. But behind the camera, young Iain was also soaking up something arguably even more valuable than fame: wisdom from legends. And none stood taller in his memory than the late Robert Redford. Now 17, with young Sheldon having wrapped its final season, Iain Armitage has had time to reflect on the whirlwind of his early career. In a recent sit-down interview, he opened up for the first time about a quiet, largely unknown chapter of his journey, working alongside the iconic Robert Redford on a small indie project that never made it past the film festival circuit, but left an indelible mark on the young actor's soul. It wasn't a big studio film, Iain says, a nostalgic smile creeping across his face. In fact, it wasn't even meant to be a feature at first. It was supposed to be a short, this quiet, philosophical thing about nature, aging, and memory. Robert wanted to direct, but then, out of nowhere, he decided to be in it too. The project, tentatively titled Whispers in the Wind, was filmed in the mountain forests of Utah during a single month in late autumn. Iain was 11. Redford was 84. The two shared most of their scenes together, Redford playing an aging naturalist coming to terms with the fading of his memory, and Iain portraying a curious boy who helps him reconnect with the stories of his past. There was this one scene where we just sat on a log for hours, Iain recalls, eyes lighting up. We were supposed to be waiting for a deer to appear in the distance, which, by the way, never did. But Robert didn't care. He'd say, "That's part of it, kid. The waiting is the point." And then he'd laugh, that warm, half-whisper laugh of his. While the cameras rolled only intermittently that day, the real magic, according to Iain, happened in the pauses. He told me stories about his early days, not the Hollywood glamour stuff, but the things that grounded him. He talked about growing up in Los Angeles, stealing strawberries from neighborhood gardens, hitchhiking through Europe in his 20s. I think he liked that I listened, really listened, without looking at my phone. Not that I even had one at the time, Iain says with a laugh. In his gentle way, Redford became something of a mentor. Though they only worked together for a few weeks, Iain says the veteran actor gave him advice that he still carries. "Always ask why," he told me. "Why is your character doing this? Why now? Why here? Acting without intention is just noise." I didn't fully get it at the time, but those words stayed with me. Armitage pauses for a moment, fiddling with a ring on his index finger, a silver band shaped like a tree branch. "He gave me this," he says softly, wrapped it in a paper napkin, and handed it to me like it was no big deal. Said it was from a tree that used to grow outside his cabin. "For remembering things that matter," he said. I haven't taken it off since. Though Whispers in the Wind never found a wide audience, a quiet casualty of an increasingly loud streaming market. Those who did see it at the Telluride Film Festival in 2021 praised the film's subtle beauty and the on-screen chemistry between its two leads. One review from a niche film blog called it a minor key masterpiece, like watching two souls speak in the language of silence. After Redford passed away earlier this year at age 88, tributes poured in from across the world. Directors, co-stars, environmentalists, and admirers. But Iain's voice stood out for its quiet grace. He posted a single photo, a black and white still from the film, the two of them sitting side by side on a log, eyes cast toward the trees. The caption simply read, "For remembering things that matter. Thank you, Mr. Redford." In our interview, Iain reflects on the moment he learned of Redford's passing. "I was on set, actually. It was the last week of filming young Sheldon. I just sat in my trailer and cried. Not in a big, dramatic way. Just quietly, like he would have wanted." Armitage doesn't claim to have known Redford deeply. "I was a kid," he says. He was Robert Redford. But somehow, he never made me feel like just a kid. He spoke to me like we were equals, not in age, obviously, but in humanity. That was the gift he gave everyone. Their time together, brief though it was, has become a kind of compass for Armitage, as he charts the uncertain waters of life post-young Sheldon. He's currently exploring both acting and directing, quietly developing a short film of his own, something slow and meditative, inspired by conversations on a forest log long ago. I want to make things that breathe, he says. Things that don't shout to be noticed. Robert taught me that there's power in stillness, in restraint, in letting a moment be. As our conversation winds down, Iain pulls out a worn notebook from his backpack. Flipping through pages of doodles, script fragments, and quotes, he lands on a passage scribbled in neat cursive. The most lasting stories are the ones we live when no one's watching, he reads aloud. That's something he said to me during a night shoot. I wrote it down the next morning. I didn't know if it was from a poem or something, but I think maybe it was just him. Before we part ways, I ask Iain one final question. What's the one thing he'd say to Redford now, if he could? He thinks for a long moment. Then, with a quiet smile, he says, I'd say thank you for seeing me, really seeing me, and for showing me that stories don't have to be big to matter. And with that, Iain Armitage, still young, but wise beyond his years, slings his backpack over his shoulder and heads out the door, leaving behind a trail of memories, whispers, and the soft rustle of wind through the trees.